Hi, we've just taken a look at an American composer from the sort of early to mid 20th century, Charles Ives, who did some sort of really out there kinds of compositions for his period of time. And he's very well known, but probably the best known American composer from the 20th century is Aaron Copland. Now, Aaron Copland was kind of an anomaly. Even when he was a little boy, he knew that when he grew up, he wanted to be a composer. I can't even imagine what kind of family background you would come from that at that age you would say, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a composer. Not a fireman, not a policeman, yes, wants to be a composer. So he went to Paris to study, and in the 1920s, 1930s, that was really considered to be the place to be studying music. That's where the hot things were happening. And he studied with a very famous woman composer named Nadia Boulanger. And she probably this is the reason she was a great teacher, she didn't try to make him into some sort of model of herself. She took Aaron Copland, this very American composer, and taught him and encouraged him to incorporate that Americanness into his music. So we're talking about the 1920s, so jazz is beginning to flourish at that time. She encouraged him to use jazz kinds of styles in his artwork compositions. And he did that. He also did some work with atonal music, 12-tone music, lots of different styles of music that Aaron Copland composed. But the music that he's best known for today is the music that we might consider to be Americana. So this is music that has very American roots in it. Not necessarily music that uses existing folk tunes or anything like that, but has a very American feel to it. So what are these works? Let's think about the piece that a lot of people know from the Olympics and other kinds of events like that. This piece was written in 1942, so we think about that historically. It's right at the beginning of the Second World War, time where patriotism was important, even though we haven't really got into the war yet. I guess we have. Pearl Harbor's 1941, isn't it? Wake up. So we're in the war, we need patriotic music. So the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra commissioned Aaron Copland, which means they paid him specifically to write a piece for them, to write a piece that could be used as a patriotic thing. And the piece that he wrote for them was called The Fanfare for the Common Man. So you can see that this is a fanfare, which means it's sort of a thing that gets your attention. That's what fanfares are intended to do. They're played at the beginnings of events where a royal person is just coming in the old days. So it's a fanfare. But in this case, it's for the common man. So we know this is not a fanfare for someone of great power. And so it really brings it down to everyday person status. So this piece it doesn't really have a melody that you want to go home singing. It's more like Beethoven's Fifth, in that it has sort of motives that work. And there's a lot of big skips. It's very disjunct, so it's definitely not something that you run around singing. But it's very memorable and very powerful. It's also very difficult to play. The instrumentation is basically a sort of brass and percussion ensemble. So it calls for 4 French horns, 3 trumpets, 3 trombones, a tuba, timpani, bass drum, and a gong. So this is kind of an odd assortment of percussion instruments. There's not a snare drum in there, bass drum, gong, timpani. So as you listen to the piece, notice how often instruments in the same section are playing in unison. Like the trumpets have their opening thing, they're all playing this together. And it's really difficult to play that well because it's long sustained tones, and you have to hit that next note exactly on for it to come out really well. I played this piece once, and we did it from the back of the auditorium. We got up in the balcony, and the percussion were on the stage, and all the brass instruments were in the balcony. I would love to have been able to sit in the middle, but I can't sit in the middle and play at the same time. And just to hear that sort of surround sound approach to this really powerful piece. So go now and listen to Fanfare for the Common Man, written in 1942 by Aaron Copland. All right, now let's take a look at some other things that Aaron Copland wrote. First, he wrote a book. Probably wrote more than one, but one that's really famous. He wrote a book called What to Listen For in Music. This book was written in 1939, and it's still in print today. It's a great resource for learning how to listen and what to listen for, which we've done a lot of in this course, but he's done it very compactly for you in a little book. So if you really want to explore more about how to listen in more depth, I recommend that book. Copland was, he's writing in the 30s and 40s and 50s. He died, I think, in 1990, so he sort of spans the 20th century. So he saw a lot of different kind of technological innovations come through during his time, and he really embraced that. He was one of the first of the what we would call kind of classical composers who wrote music for movies. He wrote the music for Our Town, The Red Pony, some other things. So he saw that as an opportunity to compose great music, and then lots of people were going to hear it because it was going to be in the movies. But he also wrote ballets. So he's really covering the gamut of musical composition. He's famous for 3 ballets. One is Appalachian Spring, and I live in the southern Appalachians, and we call it Appalachia. If you go farther north, they call it Appalachia. So they're both correct, depends on where you live. So Appalachian Spring has one very well-known movement. It's called Simple Gifts that is used a lot in other kinds of settings. He wrote another ballet called Rodeo, which is just what it sounds like. It's kind of a rodeo thing. Everybody knows at least one movement from that, and that is the hoedown movement, which was used in the beef commercials. The Beef Council used that. Beef, it's what for dinner. And then they would finish off the piece. So everybody knows at least one movement from that particular ballet. The one that I'm going to have you watch a little bit of is his ballet, Billy the Kid. Doesn't get much more American than that, does it? Actually, all 3 of these ballets are very American. But imagine writing a ballet that's about cowboys and gunslingers and shootouts and all that sort of thing. So it's a very different kind of storyline, and calls for a different kind of music because we want to also incorporate that sort of American feel to it. So I'm going to have you watch just a section of Billy the Kid by Aaron Copland, so you can get an idea of how this probably the most American of composers, took his American ideas, put them into a very American story, put it into a very French genre, the ballet. So enjoy Aaron Copland. Go explore some more of his music.